Warriors at Home by Nathaniel Nitkin. Dad, is that stratobomber the battleship of the future? Asked young Billy Sullivan, flinging his school books on a table in his father's gigantic hangar. Mr. Sullivan shook his head. The battleship that will win the war for us, he corrected. He waved his hand over the giant stratobomber. Thousands of these will be reproduced in our factories. They will fly over oceans in the stratosphere where enemy fighters can't reach them. I've also invented an infrared stratosphere bomb sight to go along with it. Imagine fleets of these stratobombers loosening destruction on the enemy while they can't reach them. What a blow to enemy morale it will be. Billy looked at the stratobomber. It was huge, so big that it would dwarf the standard flying fortress. The cabin, cockpit, and bombardier's nest were round, pressurized against the stratosphere's thin air. It carried 6 gigantic engines flushed into the wings, presenting no obstruction to the flow of air. She bristled with cunningly streamlined power turrets and aerial cannons. She was a majestic, yet terrible thing. Billy couldn't help whistling. Mr. Sullivan pointed to a squat electric derrick. A rack of heavy demolition bombs rested on the derrick's base. Billy, we're loading the stratobomber tomorrow morning. She'll have her trial flight. I bet the Army and Navy will be surprised. Not as surprised as you'll be if you honorable gentlemen disobey us, please, a harsh voice interrupted. Mr. Sullivan and Billy whirled around. Standing in the entrance to the hangar, framed by the stout open door, was a Japanese naval officer. He pointed a wicked automatic at them. He was followed by a German naval officer and a squad of sailors in foreign uniforms. On the caps of the sailors was printed Unterseebootsflotte, submarine fleet, invaders from a U-boat. Your stupid guards were unfortunately unconvinced by our persuasion, and so very sorry to regrettably report we had to dispose of them, the Jap said. Allow me to present myself, Captain Hashimoto of the Japanese Imperial Navy. This, he pointed at the German officer, is Oberleutnant Wolf. Not pleased to meet you, Mr. Sullivan growled. Will you be good boys and go away? Billy said. Captain Hashimoto forced a raucous laugh. You Americans have droll humor, but it escapes this person's understanding. Well, what do you want? Mr. Sullivan demanded. We get to the point. Thank you so very much, Captain Hashimoto said, gloating. We want the plans for the stratobomber, please. If refused, it will be inconveniently necessary to use force. As you will perceive, this person has authority. Mr. Sullivan looked at Captain Hashimoto's automatic. Suppose I refuse? It will be unfortunate. Your son dies. Billy interrupted with a pleading voice. Father, don't mind this blustering bully's threats. I'd rather die than let the enemy have the stratobomber plans. Suddenly there was a crash. The German sailors had filtered into the hangar. One of them stumbled over an empty oil can and had fallen. Cursing, he kicked the oil can. The false top flew off with a snap, and a roll of plans tumbled out of it. Captain Hashimoto's eyes gleamed. Mr. Sullivan started for the plans. Oberleutnant Wolf brought the butt of his automatic down on his head. Mr. Sullivan fell to the floor without a groan, unconscious. Billy kicked Captain Hashimoto's shins. He ran to the plans. A German sailor tripped him. He fell sprawling, and before he could raise himself, he felt something heavy and incredibly painful hit him on the back of his head. Billy's head throbbed painfully. He awoke with a groan and tried to get up. The effort sent a shiver of pain running up and down his spine, and he sank back to the floor, panting. Then the implication of what had happened awoke him forcibly. He staggered to his feet. His father was lying on the floor. His head was clotted with dried blood, but he was breathing. Billy heard the discordant throb of diesel engines. It meant a submarine off the coast. He lurched toward the door and held fast to it to support himself. The fresh ocean air cleared his head. He stepped out of the hangar. He saw inert bodies of slain Coast Guardsmen on the sand dunes. Screaming gulls circled overhead, and at sea a submarine was surfacing to take aboard a couple of rubber boats propelled by the men who had stolen the stratobomber plans. Billy looked at the telephone. The nearest Coast Guard aviation base was 50 miles away, and by the time a Coast Guard amphibian would reach the scene, the U-boat would have dived out of sight. The enemy would have the vital stratobomber plans. His blue eyes narrowed. Billy ran into the workshop. He connected the squat derrick's electrical wires to a plug and switched on the juice. He manipulated levers, and the derrick lifted the bombs. Slowly, the derrick arm swung toward the stratobomber's bomb bay. Billy jumped clear and climbed aboard the stratobomber. He hoisted the bombs into the racks and secured them. Then he sprang out. It took a few seconds to fasten a tractor's cable to the stratobomber. In a minute, the stratobomber was on the sand dunes. Billy disconnected the tractor cables and climbed back into the bomber. His father had taught him to fly, and he resolved to put his skill into use. The stratobomber's big engines sprang to life with explosive roars. Billy watched the gauge on the dashboard until temperature was right. Then he unlocked the brakes, brought the giant bomber around into the wind, and roared down the sand. The wheels left the earth. In the air, Billy circled to the U-boat, which was being hastily rigged for a crash dive. In a minute, he was over it. He chandelled and brought the bomber into a line toward the submarine that was beginning to push underwater. Simultaneously, Billy pulled the bomb release toggles. Billy felt the big bomber lift as the two heavy bombs dropped from the bomb bays. He banked sharply and brought the stratobomber skidding about. It was a bad maneuver, a result of haste to see if his aim had been true. The submarine jumped from the water, breaking in two. A huge column of smoke and fire shot skyward from her split plates. Bits of wreckage rained down on the boiling sea, creating a cauldron of fire, geysers, and pelting hail. When Billy landed, he saw his father by the hangar door. He sprang from the stratobomber and ran to Mr. Sullivan. After his father congratulated him, Billy said, "Dad, you'll have to make a new set of plans. The originals are at the bottom of the sea." "For this stratobomber?" "Don't be silly," Mr. Sullivan said. "The plans were sent to Washington for safekeeping after I finished this bomber. They got only sketches I made of stratoliners, which we shall use after the war. It isn't important at all." Billy stared at his father. "Then they lost their lives for nothing?" Mr. Sullivan shook his head. "It's ironical, yes, but your destruction of that U-boat is a contribution to victory. For when you sank the submarine, you saved steamers from being torpedoed by her.